So this abomination, something akin that comes out of Warhammer 40k or Guru from Despicable Me's laboratory, the Raketenautomat. This thing is insane. I mean, I can't explain to you. I can only even find like a few pictures of it on the actual internet. Now, when you get this thing, you're basically a double barrel death launcher. I mean, you have 18 rockets within the loading itself, and then more in stowage. And so basically, you have this death machine that can spam rockets at you, every rocket every point 0.5 seconds, by the way. Obviously having to be careful about your aim and everything else is a big thing. But when you have something that can just shower upon such death, and not to mention the drop rates of the rockets, so generally, if you're at a good enough distance, you can essentially make this thing into an artillery launcher. But if you find a group of tanks grouped together, this thing basically just rips and tears through the entire group of tanks while also being incredibly destructive. It's also not bad with speed, going up to about 32 miles per hour, if I remember correctly. And I mean, this thing is all around just a really good, a real like all around just a really good vehicle. I mean, you have the sweetest version. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I'll put a little picture up in there or something. But the Swedish vehicle essentially is the exact same thing, but it doesn't have the ammo that the Ragnar Automat, or whatever you want to call this thing, because it's hard. I've heard it pronounced like three different times through trying to actually figure out this video. But on top of that, it's also extremely hard to find information on this thing, because I mean, mostly it's really easy to find information on like War Thunder, on like the specs of the rockets and how fast they go. But it's very hard to find real life information on this because I didn't want to just cover the War Thunder. I did want to cover the actual usage of this thing, from what I gather, it was never used in any actual conflict in any sort of meaningful manner, if at all. But it was originally the chassis for this thing was a personnel carrier, German personnel carrier, and the rocket launcher was attached, basically just lowered on top of it, and then fitted into the vehicle. So it's a very interesting like setup with the way that they have this thing. But overall, I mean, if you flank with this thing really well, as far as like how to play with this thing, if you flank really well or find a good place to hide in, you can essentially just kill anything that comes across your path. You're not worrying about reloads, and it's not like you have to shoot all 18 of your rockets right off the bat, because you 16 of your rockets. My bad. I'm pretty sure it's not 18, but you essentially could kill anything with just the one shot with the two rockets. But if you do get to something bigger, like I do with like a T-34 in the clip that I was playing, it's not like it's the end of you. And not only that, it's like you can multitask. You could get pulled up on by one tank and then several tanks pull up as well, and you could just bop 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 and get all three of those tanks. And the fact that you're able to do that is absolutely insane if you consider the the every other tank in the game, basically. And the one thing that is the worst enemy to this tank, the one thing that will take you down no matter what, no matter how good you are with this tank, is those damn foxes, those damn AMXs. They will find you, they will take you down, because that is their job on the enemy team, to make sure people that are in vehicles like that aren't getting close enough to the heavy armor, because heavy armor means nothing to this thing, absolutely nothing. I don't even think I imagine, I don't know, I haven't tested this yet, but I think maybe tier 10 might be the only thing that might be able to stop this with their reactive armor, with the depleted uranium armor. So, I mean, it's just an overall amazing piece of equipment. You could not get enough of this. Um, I mean, just imagine the situation, even in bringing this thing into real war. Just not even in War Thunder. If you had this thing on the battlefield, like that's why I mentioned at the first, like something to akin to Warhammer 40k. This thing is absolutely insane. You're talking about taking 18 rockets or 16 rockets and just showering them down upon an enemy, or a building for that matter. It would absolutely decimate the entire surface area of wherever that thing fired into it consecutively, with all of its rockets loaded. And then not only that, because the Swedish version, it can't reload, but this German version, it can reload. So you essentially have an entire reload time. And then in War Thunder, you have to go back to the one of the points and get your ammo back. But in real life, I mean, it would take nothing for this pretty fast, basically rocket armed personnel carrier to go back to a logistics base or something in like a depot and just get be more rockets and then be able to be just as effective again. Now the problem is some of these things can be machine gunned. Like you can get 50 calibers and you can 50 caliber this thing, but generally it only kills the gunner. And most of the time, uh, if you have like front face directly towards the machine gunner, whoever's machine gunning you, you're completely fine. Like your gunner will get taken out pretty fast, but as long as you get out of the way before your before the passenger, basically a replacement crew, whoever's still alive in your tank goes into there. See, there's only 3 people in this tank, and you need at least 2 people in the tank. So if he gets replaced and then you're machine gunned again, that is a death. That's kind of like it's a low, but it's a con, not a low, but it's still extremely good. I mean, if you because somebody shoots at you, takes out your gunner, you know exactly where they're at, and then you just hide until it's replaced, and then you're balling. So anyway, that's probably all I'm going to cover in this video. It was just I really wanted to cover this tank and just overall just kind of show what kind of vibe it brought to the function, if you will, the tank party. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I hope